In every corner of America, there are stories of resilience, innovation, and the unwavering spirit of community. Stories of people and places transformed by the power of connection, collaboration, and a shared vision for a better future. This is the Community Effect, brought to you by NeighborWorks America.
Welcome to the Community Effect, a NeighborWorks America podcast. I'm your host, Marietta Rodriguez. At NeighborWorks America, we believe innovation isn't only about new technology. It's about solving real challenges in the places that people call home. Across the country, NeighborWorks organizations are reimagining how affordable homes are built and who gets to build them. In this episode, Building the Future, how innovation is expanding what's possible in affordable housing, we explore two groundbreaking approaches that are reshaping the future of housing. Joining me today are Nick Mitchell-Bennett, Executive Director of Come Dream, Come Build, or CDCB in Brownsville, Texas, and Ernest Coney Jr., CEO of CDC of Tampa in Florida. Nick and Ernest are transforming housing in their communities, proving that affordable homes can be high quality, resilient, and built faster than ever before. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today on the Community Effect.
Excited to be here.
Thanks, Marietta. Looking forward to it.
This is going to be a great conversation. You've both dedicated your careers to creating opportunities through housing. I want to hear about what first inspired you to get into this work and what keeps you motivated. Nick, I'll start with you. Your organization's name, Come Dream, Come Build, feels more like a mission statement more than a title. So what does that phrase mean to you personally, and how does it reflect Brownsville, and what brought you to the work?
Yeah. Community Development Corporation of Brownsville was kind of been here forever, for 50 years now. And we just felt that being able to change our name to Come Dream, Come Build was really what we were doing. And we're just so proud to be able to have our mission in that name. And it's a dream about everything. It's a dream about everything we do, whether it's just a place to rent, or you're going to go to a youth build school, or you want to buy a house. It's all about dreaming. That's the first step that we all take, right? And then let's build it, whether it be a financing product or a house or an education.
And what brought you to this work originally?
I graduated with a political science degree. And so I joined an organization called the Mennonite Voluntary Service, and they assigned me to Brownsville. And it was at a time when we were very much like now, had a bit of immigration things going on, but Brownsville was at the time one of the poorest cities in the United States. And I got building houses in the colonias, and it was probably one of the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. I made $1 a day, but I didn't care. It was just an amazing thing to work alongside the people that I shop with, I go to church with, and I just couldn't get enough of it. So ended up staying. I've been here almost 32 years now.
Wow.
It's home.
It's an amazing commitment to that community. Thank you. What about you, Ernest? What brings you and fuels you?
For those who know, my mother, Chloe Coney, was the founder and first CEO of the CDC of Tampa. And she used to take me around the nation to these best practices, learning things, doing drug marches, engaging the community. And my father was the person who helped build the first inner city YMCA in Tampa. And it's one of the most productive and really strong organizations in Tampa today. So I was getting this first-class education in community and economic development while I thought I was going to build a career somewhere else. But it really helped me when I had the burden to come back and see the same things that I went through, to be able to see other people succeed in life. And I wanted to make sure that happened, from owning your own home, going to college, having a strong career. So God would bless me with those abilities to do.
Such a legacy for that community you both have. Ernest, let me ask you this. The CDC of Tampa's work blends affordable housing with workforce development and education. How did that sort of holistic approach develop over time?
Yeah, we actually started with the community. So we went to them, we talked about what would they like to see in the community. And they came back with top 5 things. And of course, workforce, entrepreneurship, education were all components of that, and affordable housing. So that's what created us into a comprehensive community development corporation. But over time, we also come to realize that it takes more than just one single bullet, if you will, economic bullet to transform lives. So by doing 3 or 4 different things, we have a 33% greater chance of success for our community.
I want to bring our listeners into each of your communities to the degree that we can. Ernest, tell us about what's happening in Tampa right now that's really driving some of the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so Tampa has all of a sudden over the past 5 years become like this extremely hot market with the success of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Rays and other teams. So housing is incredibly expensive. And of course, we're still in the South, so incomes are low, but the price of housing as the entry point over $400,000 is really high. So people want to live in Tampa. And what we're trying to do is make sure that the residents who were born here have an opportunity to have a rising tide and it doesn't become a flood.
Yeah, that's really helpful. One of the things I hope people know about NeighborWorks organizations is you're deeply rooted in your communities. Nick, tell me about Brownsville. I know it's a very special community. What's going on there that's driving your work?
Yeah. So for years, it was just being really low income and poor. We're on the US-Mexico border. So if you stood on the roof of my building, you could see right into downtown Matamoros, Mexico. But through over the last 10 years, it's been growing substantially. And then, 5 years or so, Elon Musk decided to move his shot to Mars to Brownsville. So we're now launching the largest rocket in the world from here. And we're also building one of the world's largest liquid natural gas offloading ports here in Brownsville. And so what was really just a small metro market with a lot of rural area around it, we're now growing into a big city. But like, Ernest said, we're in the South. I mean, we're further south than the South. 1/3 of the country of Mexico is north of us. And incomes are not growing as fast as we'd like to see them growing. Housing prices have gone up 60% since COVID. But incomes have only raised maybe 7 to 8%. Just whether it be buying a house or renting a house has become incredibly difficult if you're not a rocket scientist or a geologist, which are where the high incomes are at. So it's not that we're opposed to any of this investment. It's a good thing in most cases, but like Ernest said, those who lived here forever and are from here, it's a bit difficult. I would say it's really difficult. And so there's a lot of good, a lot of fantastic people are wonderful. It's actually one of the safest cities in the United States. And because of that, it's really getting the attention from folks up north and people moving in here.
Yeah, I think you've both done a great job of painting the picture of the economic climate in each of your cities. I want to add one more dimension. When you think about the people that your organizations serve every day, what have they taught you about the role housing plays in their lives for stability and opportunity? We'll ask Ernest to reflect on that, and then Nick.
Yeah, I think housing is really central. So especially in East Tampa, even though we are a low income community, we have a very high homeownership rate compared to other low income communities that are more transient, over 35% homeownership rate. So homeownership has been a critical component in East Tampa. And, we've had incidents from seniors who thought they were going to lose their home and said, my greatest concern was who was going to teach my grandson how to say grace over Sunday dinner. Having neighborhoods where neighbors grow up together, right? Literally going to the same schools, fabric of America. So homeownership has been a central part of it. And of course, we all know that most times homeownership is the greatest asset that a person has in their life. So making sure that we have more of that here in East Tampa is going to be critical.
What about for you, Nick?
Yeah. So, in our industry, we talk a lot about this intergenerational transfer of wealth. And I don't know if any of my clients know what that means, like if they would ever know if they read that word, but they do know exactly what it means. If you ask any of our clients, 100% of them will tell you, I'm buying this house for my kids. And historically, their kids probably would have moved into that house. That's probably changing now, but leaving that asset, leaving that wealth that they've created, that they've earned to their children it's 100% of, like I said, 100% of the time, they're going to tell you that's why they're doing it. Even when our buyer's age has gone from 28 years of age up to 38 this last year, they're still buying it for their kids. And so to be a part of that, oh my gosh, that's an honor that we cherish, that we make sure that we hold on to, because it is that intergenerational transfer of wealth that is alive and well in communities like Tampa and like Brownsville.
You both are sort of on the front lines of changing people's lives through homeownership. It's really incredible. Let's dig a little bit deeper on the different ways that you're both sort of making that happen. Nick, I'm going to start with you about the work you're doing in Brownsville. Your team at Come Dream, Come Build recently launched DreamBuild, as I understand it, a modular housing program, 5 years or more in the making. I want you to tell us about it and tell us the approach, what challenges you were trying to solve when this model was created.
So DreamBuild was created literally out of our response to a disaster. Hurricane Dolly came through here some time ago, and we were given a grant by the state to come up with, build a new mousetrap, right? How do we return people to their neighborhoods after a hurricane? And that was Rapido, and Rapido got kind of national exposure. We were at the Smithsonian, the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian in New York, and had a stage at UN Habitat 3 in Quito, Ecuador. And then when that was all over, the dust settled, we were sitting around thinking, like, how do we, I like to think it was me who said this, but it probably wasn't, but it was, how do we get this off the shelf? Why are we waiting for a disaster? We already have one in housing. Why don't we try to do this like as an off the shelf product? And so I went away for a bit, and Benji Feehan from the Building Community Workshop, our partner, nonprofit design firm, we went away and came back with this concept of DreamBuild. It was originally called Mi Casita, My Little House. And it's a volumetric modular housing product that can grow. And so we build 5 different boxes or modules that are 288 square feet a piece. And so one's a wet box, kitchen, bathroom, laundry services, a dry box, a bedroom and a living room, a kid box, 2 small bedrooms, a bedroom suite, a bathroom and a big bedroom, and then a flex box, just a wide open 288 square feet. And so clients can pick from one or all 5 of them, taking the house from 288 square feet all the way up to 1,440 square feet, depending on what they want and what they can afford. The house grows. So you could start with just 2 boxes and then 2 years later, come back and add another box or 2 more boxes, depending on your finances and depending on the size of your family. So it's really us trying to give families what they want, when they want it, and help them meet that need. And we build it all here in Brownsville.
And because it emerged out of a disaster response, this product is now providing shelter as not an option for non-disaster customers, correct?
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. It's somebody who may not have been hit by a hurricane, but somebody who's hit by poverty. It's a disaster in their life. So yes, it is. We're now building, I think we're doing a 60 unit order right now for 60 different families that will be buying one of these houses. It's one of the options that families have that they can buy from us, whether they own their own lot and want to put a house on it, whether they're buying a lot from us in one of our subdivisions, we can service that need.
And these, I'm going to call them, you call them boxes, these segments, they're permanently affixed to a foundation. They're not mobile, in other words.
No, it's not built to HUD code. It's built to IRC. And so when it's done, feels exactly, is exactly like any house that would be site built, stick built, except we're building it at the farm in our manufacturing plant in Los Fresnos, Texas, a small town north of us. And we call it the farm because that's where houses grow. And so once it's moved to the site, it's affixed to the ground like any other house would be. Actually, it can withstand up to 150-mile-an-hour winds, and is built to Energy Star and the green energy standards. So it's like anything else. And most people are kind of like, wait, this is built off site. No, it's not a mobile home. It's not a manufactured home. It's actually an IRC, volumetric modular housing is the technical term.
That's really, really helpful. I want to ask you about the farm. I think it's a really unique approach. And I'm assuming by building them all on the farm, that helps you manage cost and quality, I would assume.
Yeah. So manufacturing is a completely different way to put a house together. And so we're not just building a house under a roof, because that's just building a house under a roof. What we were trying to do here was not only to actually build a house that's less expensive, that's just as high as quality, but less expensive for the buyer. And to do that was to move into a manufacturing frame of mind and a manufacturing system, which means Tom Manning Bevan from Frontier Housing, he likes to say we're wringing out the excess costs, when we're doing it at the farm. And so all the materials, we're buying those in bulk, we're pushing somewhere near $300,000 to $500,000 a month in products through the farm. And then all the labor is there. And so you have a technician, we call them technicians, they're framers. All you're doing is you're framing the wet box. That's all you do. And so they're able to build faster and move things much quicker. So in the farm, we can actually build a house in about 25 days and then have it installed in another 25 days. So a total of 50 days, the house is complete on its site and on its foundation and ready to go. But it is changing. It's turning the knob a little bit, which becomes a little difficult to get an old school contractor now working for us, full time. It's kind of like, well, that's not how I do it. This is how you do it now. And so that's kind of been the struggle a little bit, but it's again, wringing those extra costs out of the cost of the house.
Yeah, definitely flipping the script there. It's so compelling, the time frame and how you're able to wring those costs out. Starting families, having many years ago been a housing counselor for people wanting to buy a home, we really tried not to have them go talk to a realtor first to come talk to us, because then they fall in love with the home that they can't necessarily afford. But this is a really interesting model, because families could start with a smaller, more affordable home and then add rooms as affordability or as need of the size of the family grows. How is that flexibility played out in real life?
So we've only grown the house once. We're actually in the process now. I think we're able to wring out so many costs that a lot of those clients who maybe only been able to do a 2-bedroom, 1-bath are actually now able to do a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So we've been really lucky, but it can grow, and it does grow, and we are growing them. So in this one case, the family came back and they had always intended from the very beginning to add a new bedroom, actually 2 bedrooms. And so they came and they bought just a 2-box model, which is 576 square feet. And now they need to add 2 more bedrooms. We build that at the farm. The house that's on the site is ready to accept. It's all been designed and engineered in order for us to just plug it in, very much like Legos. My communications team doesn't like when I refer to them as client Legos, but we plug them in just like Legos. And, a window that was a window is now a door into this new bedroom. So that just pops right out and we're able to plug it right back in.
So they're sort of stubbed in for the growth.
It's all ready to go. Amazing. And so we may pour a new foundation and just drop it on there and slide it over. And it's really cool to watch them come in together and have the family standing there watching you as you're delivering their house on the back of a truck.
Yeah.
It just slides together. It's really kind of cool.
And with this model, families obviously are choosing the size of the boxes that they're buying and what the home is going to look like. They also get to choose their finishes, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Oh, they get to choose, Marietta, they can choose anything they want. So if you go to DreamBuild.org and you just put in your name and address and all that kind of stuff. Then you actually drop right into our online design system, and called Choice and Powers. And then you have, I think it's 27, 29 different selections that you get to make. So from the foundation, the type of foundation you want, to the type of front doors you want, to the window types that you want, to the color of the house. Do you want brick? Do you want lap siding? Do you want board and batten? What color of flooring do you want? What color paint do you want? What color cabinets do you want? What kind of toilet? There's 2 different choices of toilets. So, there's just, do you want brass finish? Do you want chrome finish? What kind of finish do you want? Matte black finishes? Do you want a front porch? Do you want a back porch? We have 22 different styles of porches. They're not all on the website yet because we haven't built them all and tested them all out, but we actually have these, and we eventually have them all in there. I think right now there's like 4 or 5. So really we like to say it's if you ever saw the movie Ford versus Ferrari,
Yeah.
and they go to the scene, they go into a Ferrari factory, and it's this one guy building this one car for this one guy, and it's like the seat don't move because it's your car. The mirrors don't move because it's your car. And it's the car made for you. And the next scene in that movie, they switch over to the Ford factory and they're just churning out 100 cars every minute. DreamBuild is building Fords, but the client really believes they're getting a Ferrari because of that community. And I mean, even down to our name, we were Mi Casita until the first buyer said to us, "Yo no quiero mi casita, yo quiero mi casota," which in Spanish says, "I don't want a little house, I want a big house." And after thousands of dollars spent on marketing material and on swag, we literally went back and I was like, "Oh, I screwed that one up. Okay, let's change the name." So we changed the name to DreamBuild. It's all about listening to clients and what they want. Business school, I paid thousands of dollars to go to business school and could have learned, the 2 things. You can't sell something people don't want. And so asking them what they want is the best business plan you can have.
And I think the other critical thing in there's a lot of what you said, but I want to tease out one thing, in that the mindset of affordable housing sort of being generic and having to deliver something at cost because it's affordable. You've sort of blown that up. I mean, the thought of people choosing finishes and having a big house, and it feels very much like a custom build, but you're delivering in an affordable way. It's mind blowing in some ways for those of us that have been in affordable housing development for a long time. It's really incredible. And I know that you have shared this model, and are there other organizations that are taking advantage of this? I think you may have mentioned something in Kentucky, but tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So we wanted to do this for our clients, obviously in the Rio Grande Valley here and the border. If it's worthwhile, why not share it? And so we actually decided to start a process where I'm going to use the word franchise. It's not at the legal term, but to share this model with other people and actually then share resources amongst each other. So right now Tom Manning Beaven at Frontier Housing in Kentucky he's just got 50,000 square feet of manufacturing space, and he's ready to start rolling these things out. And then Codney, Washington, up in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, with WeBuild, is also doing this same model. And so we worked with them for a year to get designs right and houses quality right. And we don't have snow in Brownsville, but they do in Kentucky, right? So we had to change some of the engineering on it that way. And then our partner, Building Community Workshop, Benji Feehan and his group, they're opening a site in Dallas in the next 2 months. So the idea is really to have little DreamBuild factories every 300 to 400 miles all over this country, right? To get folks to do this, because it's not only a housing product, it's also a way to put people to work. We have 50 technicians working for us now. And so, those are 50 people who have a salary and have health care and, have a job that can go to every single day. And it's just my job to make sure that they have work to do. And so it's, again, not just a house, but it's also bringing those jobs. It's bringing stability to families that typically were chasing contracts if they were floors or sheetrockers, and now they come to work every day.
Yeah, it's really amazing. It's such a fascinating model. We will talk a little bit more about it, but I want to pivot over to Ernest. Your organization is also tackling affordability and housing supply issues, but from another angle. I believe that you developed and delivered the first 3D printed housing project in East Tampa. And I'd love to hear more about what inspired you to bring that online in your community.
Yeah, so we actually are in the midst of building the first home currently, right? So it's an exciting time. So we looked at this. We've been building houses, we as mankind, been building houses the same way since the dawn of man, right? Two good hands and go find some materials, right? And, we're really waiting on what would be the greatest upside and can we bring technology to help us? Nick kind of mentioned the manufacturing process and how that helped to really move innovation from every other standpoint, from car development to everything else we can think of, but we never had brought that technology to housing. So the 3D printer is one that brings that to housing, where we literally have a 3D printer and we chose a robotic arm to do the printing, and it builds by layers, right? It goes around by layers. So you feed it the design that you want, and then it goes and it feeds those layers to build up the home. And the great thing, you can design any home any way you want with the 3D printer. So it's a really exciting time. So during COVID, we also realized like the price of construction was almost tripling. So we also knew that people were going to be priced out of homes in Florida. So we also were looking for a technology or a process that can help drive down the cost of the homes. So the 3D printed homes are right now about 30 to 40% cheaper. And we're hoping that as the technology gets better, it will help to drive that cost down even more. So we're really excited about not only is it something that can help create something that's individualized, but helping to drive down the cost. And as Nick mentioned, it also has that workforce component as well.
So your team preps the pad or the foundation and then the printer. You tell me, for those of us who have not seen it in action, walk us through what we might see right now happening in the first house being built.
Yeah, so for this first home, we actually are laying the foundation ourselves, and then we go up the 3D printer. But the 3D printer can actually do the foundation and the footwork as well. So it can do almost all of the home. And the technology is getting such that it can even do roofs now and truss. So eventually you'll be able to have a 100% concrete home, including your cabinetry. But for right now, we're doing the ground up from the foundation so that the robotic arms will then sit on the foundation, and we program it, and it has specific sites where it gets positioned, and it'll go around and start building those layers of the home.
And you're able to deliver a home, I think you said, was it 40% cheaper than a traditionally built home?
About 40% cheaper, because some of the trades, you don't have to have as many people, and then the waste, right? So if you ever got to a traditional housing, you got drywall sitting there, you got lumber sitting there, you got broken bricks sitting there, you got all this wasted material. With the 3D printer, you're very precise, and it only uses the amount of material that it needs and very little waste on the site.
What about the quality? I can hear listeners saying, but it's Tampa, you get hurricanes.
Yeah. So, as we're thinking about what really works, this is even a greater option for us, right? Especially with the amount of hurricanes and wind damage. So one, we have a lot of hurricanes, and you think about, everyone builds to Miami's codes, right? So the 3D printed home is stronger or better than the codes that are coming out of Miami. So we definitely can tolerate any wind damage that persists. But we're also in the subtropics, right? You think about termites, you think about like all these different things that eat up wood. We also have the ability to do that. And then of course we're surrounded by water all around. We're a peninsula as well. So flooding is very prominent as well. And you just have a small pool for a little while. It floods, cement, nothing happens with cement, just let it dry out and you're right back at it. When we think about sustainability, it's, it helps with the wind, it helps with termites, and it also helps with flooding. So the three major things that we have in Florida, this helps to prevent those.
Ernest, both you and Nick mentioned this. I want to ask you, it is both of these innovations are addressing housing supply, affordability, and speed, bringing product to market quickly. But you also mentioned that it's an economic development engine because it's bringing jobs. How are you using this innovation to create workforce training and career pathways to your community or for the residents of your community?
And this is part of the reason why we wanted to adopt the technology early. As I said, we're one of the very first to use it in Hillsborough County. I think there's only been one other permitted home in Florida. So we have a vocational school as well. So we're leveraging our vocational school to begin to train residents on the technology. So from the technology side, you have a computer science type of skill set, right? Where you're learning how to program the design, learning how to feed the computer system. You can even use your cell phone to program it and do the design. And then you also have some folks who are actually doing some of the physical work, right? So you're making sure the mix is right in the machine. You're going around the machine, making sure that it's producing right and working right. So for every home, you have about 3 people that can really build that home. And with the scale that we're talking about, that's really exciting opportunity. So people don't have to, be in a labor pool for 50 years, literally breaking their back, right? Now you can use the technology and use your mind more to help develop the home and develop the skills that you can use that are transferable. You may start off with a 3D printer and then go somewhere else in manufacturing because some of the principles that you're learning in manufacturing are the exact same that other people use as well.
That's great. I want to ask you both this question. I'll ask Nick to respond and then Ernest. What has been the reaction from the community seeing these homes take shape? Is there bias? Are they excited? Are they skeptical? What's been the community response? Nick, what about in Brownsville?
At first, there was a little bit of skepticism, and mainly because we goes to like asking people what they want, right? We were putting these on pier and beam foundations, and really culturally, on the border, Latinos are like, well, I was poor when I grew up and I had a pier and beam foundation. I'm not now about buying a new house that's on a pier and beam foundation. Just not doing it. It's just not going to happen. And our first house that we did was on a pier and beam foundation, still not sold. So we had to go back and figure out, well, how do we put this on what was called a stem wall? Same kind of technology, but it doesn't look like a pier and beam foundation. So the dogs and the cats and the tecuaches and anything else can't get underneath the house, right? And the minute we did that, like the skepticism went away. People walked in and were like, this is just a normal house. But it was, again, listening to what people say and not trying to force the point, because if they're not going to buy it, not going to buy it. But there was a bit of skepticism, but we met that head on, fixed it, and now we're trucking along.
What about you, Ernest? How have folks embraced this? I realize you're working on your first house, but still.
Yeah, so I think when the technology first came out, a 2-part response. One is not everyone liked it because the way the 3D printer printed, sometimes it gave a bubble effect to the cement, right? So some people didn't like that look. But then the other hand, it was used for people with ways and means. So people who are very wealthy love this technology, right? So they were building homes because you can build walls with curves and not just have your traditional rectangular or boxes. You can have all types of amazing features to your home, curved walls, curved roofs. So people with a lot of money begin using the technology. Today, the technology is caught up with the tools, right? So you can have very smooth walls if you want a smooth wall, or very fine, thin, kind of wrinkled effect to give it like that industrial, like some people like brick looks, like it gives it like this industrial, really nice look. So people are really taking to it now. The energy efficiencies are there. So people are really excited about that technology. So now people are really embracing that technology.
How are you both? I love it. That's fantastic. How are you both measuring success of both of these models? I think it's more than just a number of homes built, but lives touched, opportunities created. Nick, how do you tell the story of success?
Well, it's obviously the number of houses that we can build in 12 months, right? So that's there. That's always there. That's always going to be what we need to do. But Ernest had said the waste, how much waste are we reducing? what's the time spent on each house? And we also run a youth build program. So we also, how many students we're being able to hire students into our workforce right straight out of youth build. And then it's just the financial investment that's been made into our community for this is right now we're at probably just the investment alone is $6 million and just getting the thing up and going and running properly. And so that, and then now all the staff that we have hired and the people who have healthcare and who have insurance and who have a job and who are making more than $7.25 an hour, because that's the minimum wage here. We're paying over twice that to start with us. And then it's just the equity that's being earned by each of the families. We're actually able to do these also with our 9% tax credit deals. So we can actually build these for apartments as well. And so how are we able to do that cheaper and be able to get more built with the investment from the 9% and from whatever debt we're taking on? So there's always something to count. We have a manufacturing engineer that works for us and she's coming up with new things. I'm like, why are we counting that? Because, and then she can tell me why. And okay. So there's just a plethora of things that we can count and show that we're improving lives of people in our community.
Fantastic. Ernest, what about you?
Initially for us, it's really about affordability and access, right? So our major goal is to get to a place where we can build a home and sell it for less than $200,000, accessory dwelling units less than $100,000. And once we get to that place, affordability is for everyone, no matter where you're at in life. And that's our goal. And then of course, living in Florida, you want something that's sustainable and resilient. And that's the next phase. It's like, making sure that no matter what storms come, our folks and our residents are safe in their home.
One of the things that I think you both, and you're sort of in different phases of your innovation here, but I think you're both illustrating how innovation and connection to community are intertwined and can coexist. And technology doesn't have to replace community connection. It's fantastic. One mechanical question I have is you're talking about it. Did either community have any issues with zoning or any sort of opposition from your county or city?
We are state licensed. We're a state licensed manufacturing company. And so we really don't, once you get your state license both for the site as well as the product, which we have both, then we really don't have to go through, we don't have to go through county inspections. We don't have to go through city inspections because it's all taken care of by the city. However, in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, manufactured housing was not allowed. And so Codney really figured out what he was going to do. And he's kind of doing the frog in the boiling water process. So where he's doing wall segments at his farm location. And he's slowly over the next 2 years going to build his units to be fully manufactured. But right now they're just piece at a time so that he can kind of prove to the community that this rule is kind of stupid. And so let's get rid of it. But he needed to do that. So we were able to work around it and make it happen. But otherwise, no zoning problems, no size or anything like that. But it's more making sure the clients are happy.
Ernest, anything on your end from a zoning perspective?
Yes, because the technology is so new, it literally was in the Florida code, 3D printed homes are in the appendix. So when you go to get your permit, no one's ever done this before. So we literally had to be the first ones to go through the permitting process to really train our municipalities on what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish. So permitting was a major challenge. But we're getting to the point now where we're having, now we have drawings on file now so we can scale and move very quickly. Each municipality, it is a lesson that we have to go through and teach each one of them because in the Florida code right now, 3D printing is in the appendix.
Wow, that's a great lesson. One of the things that I'm reflecting on with both of your organizations is not only both of your leadership being open to new things, but oftentimes we find community organizations are so busy just responding to the frontline issues of the day. And it's hard to step back and make enough space for innovation and strategy development. What enabled each of your organizations to innovate in place the way you have? You needed to create room for that, and you needed to have some. What were the ingredients that created the environment for you to do that?
Desperation.
Out of need, just
Out of need. It was a straight up thing is we were losing complete control of the whole system. The financing groups had all the control. The material had all the control. The contractors had all the control. The cities had all the control, and the buyers had none and we had none. And it was like, we were trying to operate in this thing that we didn't have any control of. And people who know me know that I'm a control freak. And the way to own this was we had to do it. So it was out of desperation and we had to make time, but it was also finding the right people who knew how to do this. I don't know manufacturing. I knew where I wanted to go and I knew where I'm at, and in between, I could read all the books, but so bringing in the right people gave me the time to do this, think about it. And it's been difficult. I'm sure Ernest will tell you that, there's times when I don't have the time to think about this. We're into it now. So I got to make the time. But in the beginning, it was just like, we either do this or we die, because we can't do it. We can't continue on as we were.
Ernest, what about for you?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And once general contractors came back to us and said, hey, to build this home, just to build the home, the shell, $288,000. That's without the land. That's without, all the other components. It's like, there is no longer affordability for those who are in the greatest need. We have to do something different. Homelessness has been growing. When I grew up, I didn't see that many homeless people. Now it's an everyday occurrence. Necessity really mandated that we have to think differently and deliver something in a different manner as well.
I need to ask you, like, beyond just preparing and building the homes for your clients and customers, there's also a fair amount of support that you give them once they're in the house. I know that you both integrate financial education and counseling into your programs. How important do you think that is for long-term stability of those homeowners?
CDCB is not producing a house, right? We're producing a system. So when, we're a mortgage company, we're a housing counseling agency, we do post counseling, people know they can come to us if they have a problem. We service most of our loans, even if we're selling them to Freddie and Fannie, which we do, we service those loans. So if someone's in, we've only foreclosed on 2 people in the last 35 years. Not that we couldn't have, but hey, you're in trouble. Let's figure out why you're in trouble and let's work you through this. And so that's, we've had home buyers come to us who want their kid in youth build, right? So it's like or we've had youth build students who graduated who are now buying a house from us, or people who are renting in our rental portfolio coming here. We want to be that for everybody. I mean, we even have an alternative to payday lending product that is franchised across the country. So if people need cash, they can come to us as well. So, not that we can do everything, but on the financial and home buying side, we think we can, and in rental side. So being there for them, and if we're able to meet that need, then really doing what we can to do so. I had a mom who really took care of me, and I could go to her and ask her what I needed to do. A lot of folks don't have that. They don't have that financial backing if they need it. And we try to be there for them.
Ernest?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, being a CDC or a place-based strategist really helps make that part of it very simple and very easy as part of our fabric, right? So when we put a person into a home, we want to make sure that intergenerationally, everyone in that home is going to be successful. Is a child able to reach the educational levels that they want to? Is college an option for them? If something happens, we want to be there. So financial literacy, financial capabilities, credit repair, right? Now we're also doing more programs to make sure that we can transfer that generational wealth to the next generation. We're doing wills and trust, right? To make sure that literally the next generation doesn't have to start from ground zero. So like during the Great Recession, we had all this great work. We created all these homeowners, and the Great Recession happened, and we were like, oh my gosh. But it was, through NeighborWorks and groups like that really helped us to prepare to become specialists to help keep people in their homes. We were already doing the workforce, so we can upskill people, right? But it was just a tremendous opportunity to have that kind of wraparound services to make sure that families are served in a holistic manner, because we know the more services that you get, the more successful that you can be.
You both are NeighborWorks organizations and have been NeighborWorks organizations for many years. What does that mean, and how is that helpful to be part of a national network?
Yeah, I think it's just an amazing opportunity. One, you don't have to learn everything from scratch. Like I've gone to visit Nick, right? And I took down my notes. I'm like, yeah, we're going to implement that, right? And then you have other groups that you can learn from across the nation that are doing some amazing things, be it workforce, be it housing, be it counseling, be it lending, right? Groups are doing innovative approaches. And NeighborWorks has the ability to help us package those things and help to teach it to us, so we don't have to learn from ground zero.
Yeah, I have to agree. That's the number one thing for me as well, is that one, that you're part of a cohort of 240 or so groups that are the best at what they do. And then when it comes to telling that story, like things like this, right? I'm down here in the middle of nowhere, and nobody knows, nor do they care, what's coming out of South Texas in a lot of cases, unless it's a rock. And so being able to, to hitch my wagon to Ernest here and say, hey, I'm part of him, and he's part of me, and we're trying to do the same thing, maybe a little bit different, and learning from each other. And then knowing that the staff at NeighborWorks America has our back and is going to be able to help us in times of conversation, political folks, with business folks, with investors. That's always been, the draw for us, that we're part of a bigger family and we know it. And having new staff come on, it's like, I got 3 new people who are like going to go to Chicago here for the NTI, because I'm like, well, I'm not going to teach you. Let them do it. They can do it better than I can.
I appreciate that very much. We're going to wrap with a little bit of a lightning round, if you'll indulge me for a little bit longer. What's the first thing that comes to mind? One word to describe innovation.
Change.
Hard. Difficult.
What's one thing people misunderstand about affordable housing?
It's hard.
That we all live in affordable housing, that all of us are there. We're all living in affordable housing. It's not just for low income people.
We all have to afford it, right?
That's right.
Finish the sentence for me. The future of housing is?
It's getting brighter.
Module.
Yeah. Nick and Ernest, thank you for sharing your work and for showing us what's possible when creativity and community come together. From modular homes in Brownsville to 3D printed homes in Tampa, you're proving that the future of affordable housing is already here, and it's being built by people who care deeply about the communities they serve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To our listeners, you can learn more about how NeighborWorks organizations are driving innovation nationwide by visiting neighborworks.org. To explore these projects, visit cdcb.org. To learn more about the DreamBuild modular housing program, and cdcoftampa.org to see how 3D printed homes are transforming East Tampa. And to find a NeighborWorks organization near you, visit neighborworks.org. I'm Marietta Rodriguez. Thank you for joining us on The Community Effect, where we share stories of hope, transformation, and the power of place.
This is The Community Effect, brought to you by NeighborWorks America.